Okay. Good afternoon, good evening, everybody. I am very sorry about my uh, delay last week. Last week, I there were two awful things happening. One was that I could not actually attend the lecture uh, on time, in time, because I was expecting. I was in another program, and unexpectedly, the program ended very late. So it continued, and now the outcome was that I could not attend the lecture uh, at the time that I was expecting to. And the second thing is that I think most of the students last week were not able to properly attend the lecture, in the sense that there was some problem of the system, so they couldn't listen to the lecture properly. So I am trying to do the same lecture very much today, because I know that most of you could not follow the lecture, so therefore I am doing it again, so you don't need to worry. So last week's lecture I do not count as a lecture that I did, so today I am doing it anew. Now, if you so that the okay, now the same handout I would like to take into account. Now, this is dependent origination, as normally how it is given uh, in the text. There are variations, however. I have not given variations. Sometimes you don't find here. You have uh, 12 links. Here you have 12 links, and this is the most common one. The most common one. So um, now this is the most common one. So there are few variations. Sometimes you find uh, a lesser number of links, but this is the common one. So this one, now according to as I told you in my previous lectures, now according to Theravada tradition, the Theravada tradition believes in that even the degeneration and the progress of moral life is taking place due to dharmas. So you identify different dharmas. Now that is the tradition, that is the method of Theravada tradition, and also some of the other traditions like Sarvastivada. Now they were later called Hinayana. You know that Hinayana is this we were called Dharmavadins. This is a little bit additional. Theravada tradition was called Dharmavadins because they were counting dharmas. They were talking about dharmas when, if they are talking degeneration, again they are talking about dharma, and if they are uh, were to describe the moral upliftment, that is also that was also shown in relation to dharmas, the phenomena, psychological and physical phenomena. So enlightenment or declining, both were shown in relation to dharmas. So you can identify these dharmas. So here also, this is not a progress, this is a declining. So starting from ignorance, avidya, that is a declining. So that decline leads ultimately to what we call aging and death, jara maran. So that is not a progress of moral life, that is a declining of moral life. So that, if you, an extension of samsara, not cutting of samsara, but extension of existence. So that also happening according to in relation to dharmas. Now that is the Theravada tradition. Now some of the other traditions, like say Mahayana tradition, is different. They are not are concerned with dharma, so they are called dharma nairatmyavadis. So Theravada is a dharmavadi. Others, Mahayana is a dharma nairatmyavada tradition. Do you understand these two words? Dharmavadins and Dharmanairatmyavadins. Dharmavadins and Dharmanairatmyavadins. So there is a difference. Okay, Dharmavadins, Dharmavad, sorry, Dharmavad and Dharmanairatmyavad. So Dharmavadins emphasize, they describe morality, morality in relation to physical and psychological phenomena. So now Theravada is doing that. Dharma Nairatmyavad, they deny the physical and psychological phenomena, physical and psychological phenomena. They deny the physical and psychological phenomena. They deny the physical and psychological phenomena in moral discussions. So there is this difficult. So Theravada is a Dharmavadi. We call Dharmavadi. So here Dharma Nairatmyavad. Tell me one tradition who is not Dharmavad, especially, particularly one tradition that was not Dharmavad. Can you tell me?
Vajrayana maybe.
Yeah, especially Mahayana. Mahayana traditions are not agreed upon the phenomenology or Dharmavad, counting dharmas, explaining dharmas, right? We, on the other hand, in contrasting to Mahayana community, Mahayana tradition, we say that it is the dharmas that we have to take into account, right? So now here also, in even in the Paticca Samuppada formula, what we see is the explanation is in relation to again dharmas, isn't it so? It is again an explanation in relation to psychological and physical factors. Now the discourse of Buddha showed a pattern. So here there is a pattern of origin of suffering and the possibility of overcoming suffering. So with ignorance, avidya as condition, are volitional construction. So ignorance is not knowing, right? Ignorance. Ignorance is what? Ignorance is basically not knowing this truth that there is a suffering ongoing. isn't it? So there is the ignorance, not knowing, is not knowing the suffering, the existence of suffering and continuation of suffering. And sometimes you think, therefore, these uh, things are valid in themselves. Things are meaningful in themselves. There is a validity, something valid, something important of animate and inanimate things. So that we give a value to things. So that is what we call avidya. Why? Because we don't know the continuation of suffering. So if we understand the continuation of suffering, we deny, we reject the worldly pleasures. So we think that worldly things are important because we have a pleasure out there. We can derive a pleasure out there. But all these things we think meaningful. So the pleasure is meaningful. So therefore objects are meaningful. Like that. So that kind of understanding is called ignorance. Basically not knowing the suffering. Okay, not knowing the undergoing or underlining misery, suffering. As condition, the volitional constructions, sankhara. Volitional constructions means that you always need to satisfy somehow. Volitional constructions are less that need to satisfy. Okay, you need to satisfy. Always you need something external or a memory, right? So why? Because you need to satisfy. If you don't have anything, if you don't see anything important from outside, you select something from your memory. So that need or urge, urge or need to uh, to satisfy the senses is called sankhara. So you need to satisfy in different ways. You need to satisfy verbally, by talking, by acting, and by thinking. By thinking you satisfy, by acting you satisfy, and also by speaking you satisfy. So these are different ways that you find satisfaction. So basically, the sankhara is like that. Sankhara is a construction. So the construction is that have you have construction here means that deep rooted psychological need to satisfy. In order to satisfy, you have a lot of thoughts regarding that, but basically that is the need to satisfy your senses. With volitional construction, consciousness arises. So you have a need, so consciousness depends on this one. According to your need for satisfaction, the consciousness arises. Consciousness as condition, mentality and materiality. Mentality and materiality. So this is a crucial factor. Mentality and materiality. Last week I told you that mentality and materiality is thought to be now mind and body. They are interpreted as mind and body. So that is a problem. How could there be from many aspects? If you question this, if you try to understand nama rupa from many dimensions, from many aspects, okay, from many dimensions, from many aspects, now it cannot be mind and body. It cannot be mind and body because here uh, mind and body in full real sense. Now here we have something called jati. Here we have jati, so that is the birth, where you get uh, a new life, new body. So normally when this nama rupa is interpreted, this is called nama rupa at the new beginning. The the arrival of Nama Rupa at the beginning, at the conception. At the conception, you get Nama Rupa. And there is another jati, that is birth. So now, then the Nama Rupa is also a kind of matter that you get in a new life. Jati is also a new life. So if you check the interpretation of both, they are very much the same. They are very much the same. So this Nama Rupa, actually is a different type of Nama Rupa. So if you take it as mind and body, at Jati also you have a mind and body. So that is a contradictory opinion. So therefore, this is regarded as not a general mind and body. So Nama Rupa here means what we call the our the material experiences only. The material experiences, the memories. We have a lot of memories, material experience in our memory. So that is what they call Nama Rupa. So in this article, this is what I told you that in one of the articles, if you have read this one, I have sent you this article previously. The article, this one, you have this article here. In this article, this is the book that I sent to you, Identity and Experience by Shu Hamilton. Here he says that just as scholars of Buddhism have often understood the term Nama Rupa to refer to mind and body. So the scholars normally understand, all the scholars understand Nama Rupa as mind and body, rather than its more literal meaning of name and form. So this should be name and form, not Nama Rupa. Nama Rupa, mind and not body and mind, but name and form. So the later Theravada tradition has so the Theravada tradition has understood Nama Rupa. So both later Theravada tradition and the modern scholars understand Nama Rupa as body and mind. Nama Rupa as body and mind. But this scholar, Shu Hamilton, says, if now here she says, now she continues, such an understanding, however, is scarcely compatible with the main context which Nama Rupa found in the Pali canon. So basically, she says that this idea is not going to be okay, not going to be compatible, not going to be not going to be to match with Pali canon, which is as the fourth link in the usual 12-fold version of the chain of dependent origination, the Paticcasamuppada formula. In another version of the formula, Namarup appears as the second link in the chain, but is still proceed by Vijnana. If the mind and body arise at this stage, how can one make sense of the subsequent arising of what seems to be the mental faculties? And why do we find jati birth so much further along the chain? So now the argument here raised by Shu Hamilton is that if you understand that explanation, she says, now it is very good to read that whole article, because that article is that is from her book, and that is very good to read. And what Shu Hamilton says is that now here we have Nama Rupa. Now Nama Rupa is understood by both Theravada tradition and the modern scholars as name and form. But here the Nama Rupa is found here. But here, very late, we have something called Jati. Jati is birth. So if this is Nama Rupa at the conception, mind and body at the conception, how is it possible that why the Jati comes very late? Now here we have Nama Rupa, but Jati is here. We have so many other things here. Vedana, Tanha, Upadana, Bhava. So after all these things, Jati comes. So that is, I think she says that is not going to be okay. So says this Nama Rupa in her article. She says that Nama Rupa is something that origins in the mind, something that we call uh, something that she says name and form, name and form, the what we call the recognition of the physical factors. I think you have to read that article. The recognition of the external phenomena. So it's not mind and body in the real sense. So she says that that is our cognition or perception. Nama Rupa is a part of cognition where we understand things, where we come to know things. So that coming to know, identifying things, according to her, is Nama Rupa. So not body and mind. That is the interpretation. I think that interpretation has something interesting. Then we have Salayatana, sense basis. Then we have contact, passa, with the six sense bases as condition is contact, right? It is contact. Contact is sense contact, sense impingement. With contact is condition feeling, tanha, then upadana, clinging, becoming, so psychological attachments. And then finally we have birth, we call jara, jati. So this is actually a process leading to what we call birth and finally to decay and death, right? Now according to this one, you have to eliminate avidya. If you eliminate avidya, vijnana is gone. If vijnana is not existent, nama rupa cannot existent. If the nama rupa cannot exist, then salayatana cannot exist. So this is the major cause. Avidya is the major cause. If you don't have avidya, then you are not going to have ultimately jara maran. So that is what is basically said, that is causal pattern. The causal pattern. The pattern is very, very interesting. Now here, most of the scholars consider this to be a linear process taking place in relation to the origin of life. So that is the mistake. So I think they are normally taking this formula as related to birth. So I think Sue Hamilton is also talking about that. So most of the scholars take place that this is the explanation, the formula related to, as he said, the origin of life. It is connected with origin of life. So that is why they think Nama Rupa here means mind and body in the conception. So according to many scholars, Nama Rupa is what appears at the time of conception. But it is not conception, but this whole process, according to modern scholars, probably until bhava, that is perception. That is perception, how we understand the world. So the mentality and materiality and six sense-based salayatana is considered respectively to the fetus and the sense organs come into being in the mother's womb. So basically, this is the idea: the mentality and materiality and sixfold sense bases. Now these are considered to appear in the mother's womb. So that is the basic idea. But I think that is according to canon, that is baseless. It is not such a thing. It is not such an appearance in the mother's womb. It is just a perception. As you have sankara, you have vijnana, nama rupa is memory. So now memory gathers a lot of information. Then you have salayatana. And with those attitude, passa pascha vedana. Do you understand that? Look at this. When you think that there you don't understand the underlying suffering, and you think things have significance, and you need to use those things for your for to satisfy yourself. To satisfy yourself. So that is what we call sankhara. With volitional construction, condition, consciousness, vijnana. So think about a kid who needs a pet, say a cat. So the kid thinks that kid is very important, because if he has a kid, he will be very happy. He doesn't, because he knows nothing about suffering. He knows nothing about the suffering of bondage. Eh? So a person, even a kid, will be a bondage for someone spiritually higher. But for a kid, there is no such a thing called suffering. He knows only kid is very important. He can be pleased. So he doesn't know. So there is ignorance. And he won't the kids, because he is pleased with the the cat, if he has one. Then he was given a kitten. The parents bought, or parents brought home a kitten. Now he sees it, he touches it, he smells it, he experiences. So that is called vijnana. And with the vijnana, we have a lot of thoughts about nama rupa. So from that perspective, nama rupa then means memories, recognition. So we recognize the cat in many different ways. So we compare it to others. So we have a lot of memories, past memories. So this cat is different from other cats. This cat is a very unique one. He doesn't behave like other cats. And we also have other things like his related to his eating. So so many thoughts related to cat, the kitten. So that is going to be Namarupa. And then we have now we uses that cat, right? Now uses in the sense that we play with the cat, then we have a body experience with in relation to cat. We see the cat, and then we have experience related to eye with the cat. So many, all our senses has a relationship with cat, and all our senses have gathered lot of information about the kitten, the cat. So that is called salayatan. The information we have about something in relation to senses, what we call salayatana, bases. Bases are very informative. And then passa. Now what is happening is, with this with all this information, we have a sort of desire. We have a desire, likes or dislikes, sometimes hatred, sometimes likes, sometimes dislikes. So when you have information, for example, if you come to know that cat is stealing, because it's a cat, if you come to know your cat is stealing, then you have anger. So anger here, the anger is also here, because you have information gathered, and that passer is with anger there. If you think that your cat behaves very well, then you have a desire to it, you love it. So that desire, so that contact is there. And then with that, vedana occurs, tanha occurs, right? And upadana occurs. Upadana, emotional attachment. This is craving. This is psychological attachment. This is emotional attachment. And then we have becoming. Becoming is bhava. Bhava is that now you extend your life, which means that you become a person who need the cat, who is satisfied with the cat, right? So not a person who reduces the desire of it, but a person who likes it, who has a bond with the cat, who is desirous of cat, who is hankering for the happiness with the cat. So then bhava is in a way extended, in a way, because you have a new type of what we call, I mean, it is a cause for creation to have more and more cats to enjoy here in this life or in the future life. So you become one who can enjoy the cat, one who loves the cat. So this gives you an energy to become again and to have the similar experience. That is what we call bhava, right? That is how it becomes. And then jati, the birth occurs, and then jara aging and death. That how it comes. Any questions about this? Is it clear to you? Understandable? Understandable?
Yeah, understand.
Yes. Do you have any questions? Others? No? Okay. Right? Okay, so now interpretation of Sue Hamilton is very important because you need to read her interpretation. Her interpretation is very valuable, very important. But I am also writing a different article on this one, on Nama Rupa. So that's a different arguments, however, different from Sue Hamilton. So my understanding is different from Sue Hamilton's understanding. But anyway, that's a good comment on Nama Rupa especially. Most of the scholars consider this to be a lineal process taking place in relation to the origin of life, the mentality, materiality, so that with that understanding, there is a division of the factors into three periods: past, present, and future. The contrary, so some people divide this into three lives. So this is to past life, and this is up to here. Yes, so this up to here, it is uh, the next life. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah. Oh, no, from here. From here to here. So this one, these two, avidya and sankhara. So these two belongs to one life. So this is how they interpret it. This is one life, and this is this 8. Yeah, up to here. That is okay. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry. These two, yeah, these two, avidya and sankhara, past life. And from vijnana to jati, vijnana to bhava, one life. So this is present life. And with jati and jara, marana, future life. So two past, say first two past life, then next 8 present life, next to future life. That is how they think, but that is not the correct way. That is not the correct way. So now in the so here now here actually now in the Abhidhamma, in the Vibhanga, now when you come to Abhidharma text, okay, when you come to Abhidharma text, now these are now what is explained is their connection is the connection is takes place in different ways. The connection is considered as cause, associated factors, sampayukta, and supportive factors, anyamanya. Anyamanya, which means that so when what are these things? So one is hetu. Now here hetu. Now this is what is given as hetu. So avidya, that is the first way. When avidya is there, sankhara arises. So avidya is the hetu. When the volitional constructions are there, the consciousness, vijnana arises. So So sankhara, volitional construction, is the cause. So that is the first method, the cause. But there are also other ways. One is sampayutta. One is sampayutta. So not only avidya is the cause of sankhara, but also avidya is associated with sankhara. Sankhara is associated with avidya. That is a different picture. So when actually not only avidya becomes the cause of sankhara, but also avidya is right, sampayutta means associated with sankhara, which means they are simultaneous also. So you can just name them as lineal, one after the other. So then one after the other doctrine is just for the explanation. Just for the explanation, because you need to first understand it one after the other, like the way how I explained it to you. When I explained it to you, I told you how one becomes the cause of another. But actually, that is not the full picture. The real picture is when avidya is there, sankhara is also there. That is called sampayuk. So avidya and sankhara are sampayukta. And sankhara and vijnana are sampayukta. When vijnana is there, sankhara is there. And vijnana and nama rupa are sampayukta. Yeah, nama are sampayukta. Sorry, vijnana and nama. Here there is a small difference. Vijnana and nama. Vijnana and nama are sampayukta. Rupa is sampayukta. Sampayukta means what is here? You can see sampayukta. Sampayukta means associated factors. So rupa is an associated factors of salayatan, not nama. It is an associated factor of salayatan, sense basis, because both are material elements. Okay. So the yeah. So now phasa and vedana again. Not only cause but also sampayutta, associated, which means that they are simultaneous. So and the final one here is that anyamanya, supportive, mutually supportive factors. Anyamanya, mutually supportive, which means that you can't mutually support without beginning at the same time, without existing simultaneously. If you uh, if you if you exist simultaneously, if you appear simultaneously, only there could be what we call anyamanya, that is mutual support. So only in the Abhidharma we come to know that these are not just lineal, they are not lineal, one after the other, but also there is a possibility that, now not the possibility, they are mutually supportive, which means they are simultaneously existing, and also they are also associated with the other factor. So the preceding factor is associated with the succeeding factor. Preceding factor is associated with the succeeding factor, which means that they are existing at the same time again. That is what is said. So that is if in that way, you can't call them they belong to three bhavas. You can't call them they belong to three bhavas, because that is illegitimate. Because if they are simultaneous, it means that if these factors can mutually support you, and if this fact can associate one, the one can associate another one, actually they are working at the same time. They are they are existing at the same time, not one after the other. So that is an interesting observation in the Abhidharma. So for us, normally when you learn it, it is a causal pattern. But this pattern is not just causal. There is another connection. One connection is that Sampayutta connection. One is associated, one associates another thing. The other one is mutually support condition. Mutually supportive factors. Anya mutually supportive factors means anya. Okay. So is it clear to you? Because there will be no any other explanation about this. So you have to be very clear. Any questions? Anything that you don't understand? Anyone who didn't understand this in my explanation? Okay. Clear?
Yes, yes, teacher.
So what did I say here? Can somebody summarize what I said here? About in relation to these three hetu, sampayutta and supportive factors. So what can you talk about the 12 Paticca Samuppanna formula here? Yes. Can somebody summarize this one? No, cannot. Can someone summarize what I said in relation to this passage?
Let's see.
Yeah, any attempt?
Sorry, sir. I cannot that.
Okay. Okay, if you cannot, no need to say that. Okay. Anyway, now you must be able to explain this, right? And at least keep in mind. Now there is this sutta. Okay, now when I have given a very short handout, okay, it's not very complex. The Pache Sutta, this sutta is very special. The Pache Sutta of the Samyutta Nikaya, and it shows special characteristic of this one. The special characteristic of the workings of the doctrines of dependent origination. So it talks about how the dependent horizon can be, described. The Buddha showed the monks that these aspects, exile, aspects exist if a Tathagata were or were not to arise in the world. So there should not be a Tathagata. Even without a Tathagata, this truth is possible. It continues. The fundamentality or element of phenomena, Dhamma Dhatu. It is called Dhamma Dhatu. That word is very strong, isn't it? This word is very strong. It's a Dhamma Dhatu. The Buddha showed the monks that these aspects exist if a Tathagata were or were not to arise in the world. So even without the absence of Tathagata, this Paticca Samuppada functions. Paticca Samuppada functions. So that is called Dhamma Dhatu. Dhamma Dhatu. Dhamma Dhatu means element of phenomena. So it's an element of phenomena means that actually not just an imagination. You can't call it an imagination. It is not an hypothesis. Actually, it is taking place. So it is a reality. It is a reality. It's an element of phenomena. It's an actual phenomenon that is taking place. Dhamma dhatu. And there is we call irreversibility. And also there is another meaning, the fixed order of phenomena. Fixed order of phenomena, isn't it? Fixed order means that you can't change the pattern. that you can't change the pattern. Here, you cannot take bhav here. Okay, so bhava you can't, bhava should be there. Bhava can't be here or here. Sorry. So bhava, this regular pattern should be there. Okay, that regular pattern is always there. So you can't change it. That is called dhammatitata. So this irreversibility or fixed order is called dhammatitata. And the law of phenomena, law of phenomena, it is a law. It is essential. So that is called dhammaniyamata. And respective of specific conditionality, idapacheta. Idapacheta. So it is not the same pattern, right? Now, depending upon the object, depending upon the context, the patterns change. For example, here it is talking about origin of suffering. This whole formula it's about origin of suffering. But if you want to talk about origin of mango tree or mango fruit, huh? If you want to talk about mango fruit, then the things go change. Okay, there is a change. For example, then we have to talk about different things. The causal relationship is could be a seed, a soil, a water, and the tender plant and the tree, the growing of the plant, and then like that. So that is a different pattern. So each thing has its own pattern. Okay, that is called idapacheta. So if you are talking about earning money, that it has its own what we call its own uh, process, conditionality, specific conditionality. So that is how it is. Idapacheta. Upadana Upadawa Tathagatang Anupadawa Tathagatana. This is the Pali phrase. Upadawa Tathagatana. Whether the Buddha were to be alive, origin. Anupadava Tathagatana. If they are not. Tithava Sadhamma Dhatu. That element of phenomena is existent. Tithava Sadhatu. Dhammatitata. Dhammatitata. Okay. Is there. So Dhammatitata is what we call this one, the law of phenomena. And Dhamma Niyamata, Dhamma Niyamata, there is a Dhamma, the law of phenomena, Idapacheta, a particular pattern. The four dimensions represent the uniformity of the process. So that is a uniformity of process. The Buddha further continues, the dependent horizon has these four characteristics. So that is objectively taking place. Not something actually that is objectively taking place. Tathata, that is objective. Necessity, avitata, you can't avoid that. Invariability, there is no another way. Anyata, uh, ananyatha, ananyatata, that is ananyatata, and that is causal conditional. Idapacheta. Now, how do you understand these things actually? Do you get a proper understanding? So the Buddha wants to say that this is not memory, This is not merely an inference. This is not something that we uh, that we uh, that we infer, that we imagine. Rather, it is really something that is taking place objectively, something that is really happening. That is really happening. It's not an imagination. So that is why I give element of phenomena, irreversibility, fixed order. So you can't change the pattern. The pattern goes avidya pachya sankhara, sankhara pachya vijnana, like that. The other one is law of phenomena. That is a must. And yes, and law of phenomena, dhamma niyamata, and respective or specific conditionality, idapacheta. If you want to talk about mango, it's a different conditionality. If you talk about sunrise, it is a different but basically, principally, conditionality, what we call conditionality, is there. And out of these four, we have another level of explanation. The four dimensions. The four dimensions means the four dimensions we explained here. The four dimensions represent the uniformity of responses. The Buddha further continues, the development of co-arising has these four characteristics. One is objectivity, tatata. It is absolutely taking place. And it is necessarily taking place, avitata, you can't avoid. And it is invariable, the causal pattern you can't change, ananyata. And then uh, every incident has its own paticca samuppada, that is called conditionality. Idapaccheta. Okay, so now it is said the objectivity tatata resembles with the fundamentality or the element of phenomena dhammadhatu mentioned above. The second and the third factors are different putting of the same idea of the essentiality, while the last is the same. Okay, that is an kind of extra explanation. So, what do you again look at closely? The objectivity, tatata, resembles with the fundamentality or the element of phenomena, dhamma dhatu. So, the tatata you can compare with dhamma dhatu mentioned above. So, these two, tatata and dhamma dhatu, can be compared. Mentioned above. The second and the third factors are different putting of the same idea of the essentiality while essentiality. So, the second and the third, yes, second and the third, okay, the second and the third factors are different putting of the same idea of the essentiality. Now, what is essentiality? Now we have here essentiality. There is essentiality given the fund, yeah. So, element of phenomena, dhamma dhatu. Second and the third factors are different putting of the same idea of the essentiality, while the last is the same. We don't find essentiality. Let me check it. I think here small mistake. Okay. The objectivity is the objectivity here. The objectivity tatata resembles with the fundamentality or element of phenomena. So this equals the element of phenomena is this one. So these two tallies. The second and the third factors, that means this one and this one, third factors. The second and the third factors are different putting of the same idea of the essentiality. essentiality. What is the essentiality here? Let's check the essentiality. So this one, element of phenomena, the irreversibility, the fixed order of phenomena, dhamma dhatu, the law of phenomena, and the respective of the specific condition, not this one. So, okay, now let's take this one. The fourth one, idapacheta. Here is the idapacheta here. So that is the same thing. That is what it says. Okay, that is how it goes. And then it becomes very clear this law of phenomena. So dhamma niyamata. Okay, dhamma niyamata tallies. Okay, now we remove other things. Dhamma niyamata, the law of phenomena, tallies with second and the third. That is the idea. Second and the third. What is the second and the third? These two. So these two and these two tallies. That is how it comes. The law of phenomena, the necessity of it. So that is what how we can say. So the similarity. So there's a different way of putting. So the same words are found. So what is seen is that actually the very interesting is that so now this is not an imagination. This is actually happening. Okay, this is something truly happening. It is not an imagination. It is something truly happening, objectively happening out there. Even now it is happening within us. It is happening. Now we have even now there is avidya pacchaya sankhara, sankhara pacchaya vijnana. Now I think that avidya, I don't consider about suffering of the world. So now this teaching is, if you take, I mean, I teach, there is sort of, I am not concerned with suffering, underlying suffering, right? So I think this teaching is very meaningful. So teaching this course is meaningful. So then I have, so that is avidya. In a way, now I don't like to compare because this is teaching of Buddhism, right? Teaching of Buddhism has a different meaning. It's a different meaning because when you can't call it avidya, because when I teach, I have a different kind of mental setting. So that is not fully avidya. You can't call it fully avidya. But if you take another situation, okay, another situation that is avidya. So now say that you have a car, you own a car, you think car is important, you don't understand underlying suffering, that is avidya. You need the car to satisfy yourself, you think having the car is a satisfaction, then sankhara. And then you see your car, experience your car, you touch it, you smell it, you do everything with it. So that is vijnana, first experience. And then vijnana pacha nama rupa, a lot of ideas about the car, you think about it in different ways, you have a lot of memories of car, nama rupa. And then salayatana, you have a bunch of information, a bunch of information related to car in your senses. So your now everything goes to different senses, how you touch the car, how you smell the car, how you saw the car. So all these ideas of seeing the car go to eye, that is eye related. All the cars, the sound of the car and all these things go to ear, and that is like that. So that is objectively happening even now, right? So that is how why they say that objectivity, avitata, ananyata, idapacheta. So that is related to that. If you talk about a tree, that has a separate kind of thing. So that is idapacheta. Not the same thing, but it's a different kind of thing, right? So we have now when Buddha talks about origin of poverty, his explanation is different. Adananandani anupadiman. So origin of poverty, so origin of conflict. So say the Buddha says Adananandani anupad. When the people don't find money, they take weapons. They take weapons. No, there is poverty, dalidya. When the people find it difficult to earn money, there is poverty, dalidya. When there is poverty, there is a stealing. Eh? There is a stealing. When there is a stealing, when there is a stealing, there is punishment. There is punishment. Like that. So the causal pattern is there. Then it causes other, you know, terrible results. So that is a different cause. So that is idapacheta. That's about how the social conflict arises. But this is how basically the psychological suffering arises. So that pattern is there for the psychological. So for other things there should be other different uh, causal patterns. So that is called idapacheta. Okay. So now with that, the dependent co-arising rejects divine creation, parankatavad. Now it's not suffering is or happiness or what. It's not because of divine creation. Self-causation, sayankatava, that is not because of atma. There is no atma that behind your suffering and happiness is not because of an atman. So that is called sayankatavad, denial of atman. And determination, aditya samupannavad, which is causeless. So they don't talk about any causes. So the idea that there is no determinism, fixed determinism means it's natural cause. It's the natural cause. All the time it is fixed pattern. It's a natural cause. So you need to make, if something is fixed, it happens. Natural cause means that determinism. It is fixed. You can't avoid it. It happens in a natural way. Now here the problem is what? Now, okay, this also like a natural way, right? Now this is also a natural way, right? It happens. You can't stop it. If the avidya is there, sankhara is there. If vijnana is there, namarupa is there. So that is a possible. Now you can say determinism, isn't it? So there is also some determinism. But why don't you call Buddhism as a determinism? Because the causal pattern is fixed pattern, right? It is a fixed pattern. Now, but why don't you call Buddhism is determinism? Why? In determinism, you can't involve in. You can't change it. But in Buddhism, you can't change it. That is the importance. So that is, you can't change it, because if you can reduce avijja, you can eliminate avijja, then you can change the pattern. But here in determinism, you can't change the pattern, right? That is a fixed pattern. So that is what we call determinism. Accidentalism, ahetu appacheva, there are no causes and effect. But here we have causes and effect. The last one is uchedava, the materialism. Materialism also doesn't talk about causes and effect normally. And it doesn't talk about the efficacy of psychological things, psychological phenomena. Now we know that there is a force, karmic force, right, behind our mentality. But Uchedavada says all these are material. There is no a second result, second effect in the phenomena or in the psychological phenomena. There is not a second stage. The next, another layer of function. Subsequent effect, later effect cannot be explained. So that the Uchedavadi's explanation. So that is the Uchedavadi's explanation. So that is not the Buddhist idea. So divine creation is rejected, self-causation is rejected, determinism is rejected, accidentalism is rejected, materialism is rejected. Any questions? Now you can ask any questions. I said a lot. No questions. Okay. Now, if you look at again, good. Now, the most important thing in this connection is the last. Uh, Now, this is a huge lesson actually. This is a very short. You can read the books that I have given, Kalupahana, the causality. So much information, so many books about causality. So Kalupahana's book, and then early Buddhist teachings, the middle position. So that 23 to 35, I have given page numbers. You can read the page numbers 26 to 33. 20, the Karunadasa Vai's book, 23 to 35. And Tilakaratna Sanga's book, I have not given the page numbers here. Now, the explained, now we have, yes, some of the sutras, some of the discourses, Buddha talks about, now this is very rare. Some of the sutras, Buddha talks about causality in uh, the process or the path of enlightenment. The path of enlightenment. That is interesting. The same causal pattern is applied in relation to, or applied uh, the the progression of the progression of the moral life, rather than moral life, I would say the progression of the uh, the liberation, the practice leading towards liberation. So that is explained in relation to causal pattern. So there is also a cause and effect relationship. There is also a cause and effect relationship. Now this is, I cannot talk about all the sutras here, but you can find how that is, that my discussion is linked. But I would like to select two sutras of my interest, two discourses of my interest. One is, I would like this one, Upanisa Sutra. Upanisa Sutta of the Majjhima Nikaya. And the next one I would like the Kundaliya Sutta of the Samyukta Nikaya. So now you can find these sutras if you now type Google, right? You can find it. Now it's not difficult to find these sutras online. Sometimes the version could be, you can find even the PTS, Pali Text Society version if you want. So there are many printed version. There are many online support. There are many online versions of the same resource, same source. You can find it easily and study them. Now in the Upanishad Sutta, I will first go to Kundaliya Sutra. Now there are many versions of enlightenment. If you can remember my first lesson, if you remember me explaining the first lesson I showed you, the Buddha has shown many different paths for the enlightenment. In the same way, here in the Kundalini Sutra, we see a different path. Now, there was the story. They are actually, the Buddha meets a person called Kundaliya, and he was a wandering ascetic. He uh, called Ajivaka or Ajivaka. One of the Ajivakas called Kundaliya, the wandering ascetics. He was not a Buddhist, and Kundaliya was interested in knowing the Buddha's path or the practice, the practice proposed by the Buddha for liberation. The practice proposed by the Buddha for liberation. And in that discourse, Kundaliya asked, okay, how now the word that he used, the word that he was familiar with was Vijja Vimutti. Okay, the word that he was familiar with was Vijja Vimutti. Now, what is the word? Okay, what is the word? What is the word here? Oh, you can't see the word, right? What is the word written here?
Vijavimutti.
Vimoti.
Yeah, the word written is Vijja Vimutti.
Vijavimutti.
Sorry?
Vijavimutti.
Yeah, Vijja Vimutti. Today I have again some technical problem. I can't hear you properly.
Yes.
You are speaking properly. But anyway, now this is called Vijja Vimutti. And the wandering ascetics asks the Buddha, now how do you explain what actually is necessary for Vijja Vimutti? Right? What do we have to, for the Vijja Vimutti, what do we have to practice? Right? The Buddha says, now for the Vijja Vimutti, we need 7 factors of enlightenment. Okay, of enlightenment. Seven factors of enlightenment. So if you have 7 factors of enlightenment improved in you, okay, 7 factors of enlightenment improved in you, you have Vijja Vimutti. So Vijja Vimutti, Vimutti is freedom, Vijja is knowledge. So knowledge for freedom. Vijja Vimutti means knowledge of freedom, knowledge for freedom, or you can call it knowledge of freedom. Right? Knowledge of freedom. Now here is, you can see how the Buddha explained. The Buddha explained how the Buddha explained how the Buddha explained the path in a causal pattern. The path in a causal pattern. So again, the phenomena. This is a dharmavada, right? So therefore phenomena are there. So Buddha explains this in relation to phenomena. It's like it's a tradition that explains whatever is explained according to phenomena, psychological or physical factors, dharmavada. So he says Vijja Vimutti is possible if you have 7 factors of enlightenment. What are the 7 factors of enlightenment? Can somebody tell me the 7 factors of enlightenment? Sati.
Seven bojjhangas.
Yeah. Sati, Dhamma Vichaya, Virya, Piti, Passaddhi, Samadhi. Thomas, can you
Yes,
remember? Upekha.
I don't know by heart. I have to read again. Yes, seven
Sorry?
bojjhangas. 7 bojjhangas.
I'm sorry.
Sati.
Today, again, can you?
Seven.
I have some difficulty to hear.
7 bojjhangas. 7
Yes,
bojjhangas.
Saptabodhyangas. Saptabodhyangas, yes. 7 factors of it. They are called Saptabodhyangas. Thank you. Saptabodhyangas. Right? So we have the 7 factors, Sati, Dhamma Vichaya, so on. You can find out them in the English translation you have. You have to make sure that your mind is where your mind is. That is called Sati. So if you can observe clearly where your mind is and it does not move between likes and dislikes, attachment and detachment, that is what we call Sati. And Dhamma Vichaya, you must be able to find Dhammas. Actually, there is no growth. There is no growth of spirituality if you don't understand the real psychological factors that causing the development. Now, how do you know that there is samadhi in you if you don't understand what samadhi is? And how do you actually develop samadhi without actually understand different psychological factors are present in you? So that is what we call Dhamma Vichaya. So you need to understand it. Now, say, right, the best thing is samadhi. So samadhi cannot be understood. Samadhi cannot be understood without understanding the changes of psychological factors, and all these factors you can explain in terms of some of these, some of these Buddhist terms. So if you cannot explain in Buddhist terms, that is not Buddhism. Okay, you must be able to explain the psychological changes within you in Buddhist terms, and at the same time you must be able to recognize them, right? That ability to find or understand dhammas is called dhamma vichay, sati dhamma vichay, and there is virya, effort. Without effort there is nothing. Sati dhamma vichay, virya, piti, psychological happiness, sukha, bodily happiness, sati dhamma vichay, virya, piti, and there is another one, passaddhi. What is passaddhi? How do you translate passaddhi?
Tranquility of the mind.
Yeah. Restlessness.
Passaddhi is calm.
Sorry, no.
And in
The
calm.
calmness, that is, it resembles with the bodily. How do you, what is the word that you gave?
Tranquility of the mind.
Yeah,
Tranquility.
tranquility. Yeah, tranquility. Yeah, I will give that word. Tranquility. Tranquility. The tranquility. The sukha, bodily, piti, sukha. So, virya, sati dhamma vichay, virya, piti, passaddhi, piti, samadhi. Sukha is not there. And then samadhi. Compassion. And upekkha,
Concentrations,
equanimity.
equanimity.
Right? Equanimity. So these 7 factors of enlightenment. So he says, yeah, Vidya Vimutti is possible if you have these 7 factors of enlightenment. Then he asked another question. Now, in order to have 7 factors of enlightenment, what do you have to do? That's very interesting. In order to have 7 factors of enlightenment, what do you have to do? He says, in order to have these factors, the Buddha says, in order to have these factors, okay, now this, yeah. In order to have these factors, you have to have, okay, you have to have what we call 4 bases of mindfulness. 4 bases of mindfulness. Okay, now these are called Sapta Bojjhanga. Satta Bojjhanga. These are called Satta Bojjhanga, 7 factors of enlightenment. And the next 4 is called Chattaro Satipatthana. Chattaro Satipatthana, right? Okay, we can reduce this to a small level. Okay, now, okay, these are, right? Yes, Chattaro Satipatthana. In order to have now, what are the Chattaro Satipatthana? Everybody knows that mindfulness on body, yeah, right? Mindfulness of body, mindfulness of feeling, mindfulness of
Gunas of consciousness.
what is it?
Consciousness.
Consciousness, yeah.
Yes.
Consciousness, CIOUS. Consciousness and mindfulness of the last one, yeah,
Dhamma.
Dhamma, the phenomena.
Yes. Phenomena.
Okay, now that is, the Buddha says you need these. You need these. The 4 bases of mindfulness. In order to have that, you need this one. Mindfulness of body, feeling, consciousness, and phenomena. Kayanupassana, Vedananupassana, Chittanupassana, Dhammanupassana. What is that? You are sure actually. What is Kaya Anupassana? In the simple sense, you know that your body is not functioning. Your body is not functioning in a way that you express desire or hatred. Now, for example, now simply I will do that. I mean, this you have to understand in this very simplest manner. In the simplest manner, then easy. So there are different Kaya Anupassanas. Breath. What are there are different feet. There are many Kaya Anupassanas. First one is breath. Anapanasati. Iriyapata, Sampajanya, Dhatu Manase. So just forget about all these details. So mindfulness of body simply means that you are sure that your body is not expressing attachment or detachment, hatred or attachment. So if normally if there is a song, okay, if I move my limbs to that rhythm of the song like this here, now what is it? I am attached to the song, right? I am attached to the song. So, if I move my head according to the rhythm of the song like this, I express my attachment. So as a monk, this small attachment is also very harmful, because in a way that for a simple thing, I get attached to something, which means that I can't avoid my attachment for many others. For more serious kind of attachment cannot be avoided. Sometimes my walking, my way of, my bodily behavior and everything, listening to things and looking at the things with eager eyes, right? All these things can be harmful to my progress. So you have to check your body, how you feel, whether you have what are the kind of feelings you have. Vedana, Sukha Vedana, Dukkha Vedana, Upekha Vedana. Now, not Sukha merely, but if you find Sukha in relation to something, that is interesting. You think that you have feeling with that one. So you think Sukha Vedana, you can have Sukha Vedana with this one. You think that if you have this phone, now today we using this mobile phone. If you think that this mobile phone is seriously an object of Sukha, right? If you find it that because of this you find a lot of pleasure, you have to be very careful about that one. So so that kind of Sukha Vedana because of something is dangerous, because there is no limit, you cannot control yourself. Sukha Vedana, Dukkha Vedana, even the Dukkha Vedana, you're feeling. Check yourself when somebody dies, your close relative dies, parents, siblings. At that moment, how your feeling is, Vedan, Dukkha. And check your Upekha, how your mind is in equanimity, like that. So that is very important. So Buddha says that in order to have what we call the 7 factors of enlightenment, you need to have these. In order to have sorry. For Vijja Vimutti, you need to have 7 factors of enlightenment. And then for the 7 factors of enlightenment, you need to have 4 bases of mindfulness. And to have 4 bases of mindfulness, what do you have? You need 3 types of good behavior. 3 types of good behavior. So that is called Tini Sucharitani. That's interesting. Tini Sucharitani. Tini Sucharitani. You need three Sucharita. You need to act. Yeah. So you need to act with your bodily good acts, good bodily acts. Good words, speech. Good thoughts. Okay, so that is what you need for Tini Sucharitani is necessary in order to develop 4 bases of mindfulness. And you need Tini Sucharitani. Good bodily acts, good speech, good thoughts. When you develop these things, naturally, this is easier. You need to do charity, you need to help others, you need to be very good words, because all these things are related good emotions, good psychological factors, right? If you are compassionate, if you give some foods. Now I have seen, I have a visiting cat, and he always comes 2 times or 3 times, and when I help him, I feel that that is very good. It the simple thing, giving a small some food to the cat, is also helpful to develop our our good emotion, good psychological factors. So good bodily acts, good speech, good thoughts improves our behavior and psychology. So that is, and then lastly, Buddha says, he asks, in order to have in order to have these three sucharita, what do you want to, what do we have to have? And the Buddha says, for that you need to have what we call indriya samvara, the restraint the senses. That is called indriya samvara. What is it called? How is it called? How is it called?
India Samara.
This one is called indriya samvara.
Restraint the
Indriya
sun.
samvara.
Restraint the sun.
Yeah. So that is the last thing. Indriya samvara is what? It is given when you Chakuna rupan diswa na nimitta gahi nanu byanjana gahi. You see something with your eyes, but na nimitta gahi. You don't, pick up. The nimitta gahi means you don't pick up any nimitta, means nimitta has different, uh, any object of it. Object that pleases you. You are selecting something. For example, if you look at something, you pick up certain features of it, whether it be a beautiful, a building or a forest or an object, vehicle, or an animate thing like a animal or girl or woman or man. When you look at it, you select something, suddenly your eyes goes to somewhere of that particular thing, the color or whatever, and then you pick up. That is the object, right? Nanu Byanjana. Byanjana is a very complex word. Actually, Byanjana here means something what pleases you. You are selecting, picking up a particular object, and you see the beauties of it. The word is given na nimitta gahi. Na nimitta gahi nanu byanjana gahi. Nanu. How can you? Yes. Nanu. I can't find this. Oh. Yeah, Trikotika Parisuddha Sila. Yes, very correct. Very correct. You have, I think, yeah. Byanjana Gahi. Yeah. Right. Okay, nanu bhyanjanaggai. Restrain the senses. Na nimittaggai. You are not picking up objects. And nanu bhyanjanaggai. You are not picking up beauties. Bhyanjana means beauties. That is what we do, right? Now, why do we want beautiful things? Because we see special characteristic of them, characteristic parts, characteristic sections of them. Not probably we are not interested in whole thing. Actually, we don't know whole thing. When you see something, we don't know whole thing. When we look at a beautiful building, do we know whole thing of it? No. Do we know actually the building is not strong enough? There are cracks inside? No. We don't know. If we come to know that the building is not well built, constructed, and there are cracks inside, the walls have been, cracked. There are so many cracks across the walls, and sort of the leakings and sort of not in the proper architectural design, interior designing inside. No, we don't know that. We just see something only. So we think outwardly we conclude that it's a beautiful building, but inside story we don't know. So we don't know everything of that. So in the same way, we select something. Always what we do is we select, pick up something, and then see the beauties out of that, isn't it? Think about it. We don't know everything. Now apply this to anything. You can apply this to anything. Inanimate, everything. Without knowing the full story, we pick up of it, we pick up something of it, and we seek the pleasures, we seek the beauties, or we seek enjoyment out of what we have picked up. So think, okay, now what we have selected, what we have picked up is the cause of, enjoyment. So in the Abhidharmitis I showed you, abhisanyuhitva, abhisankipitva. Abhisanyuhitva, abhisankipitva. Abhisanyuhitva means we subjectively select it, identify something. Abhisankipitva, we pick up. Abhisankipitva. Now here we have na nimittagahi, nanu bhyanjanagahi. We nimittagahi, we select a particular object, a part, and then bhyanjanagahi, we select the beauties out of it. Select the beauties. So that is how we think. Na anubhyanjana means na nimittagahi. Anubhyanjana means in accordance with. Now see the beauty. I mean, very beautiful, right? Na nimittagahi, you have a particular action. Na anubhyanjanagahi, you are seeking beauties. Anu, in accordance with. Anu means na anu. Na anu means na anu. Na anu. Anu means in accordance with. Anubhyanjana means the beauties in accordance. Beauties in accordance with. Nanu. So that becomes nanu. Nanu bhyanjanagahi. Right? Na nimittagahi, nanu bhyanjanagahi. So in the Visuddhimagga, there is a different description, which is not fitting to this explanation. Visuddhimagga has a different explanation. So Visuddhimagga says, the bodily acts. Now, the bodily limbs like the beard or lips and hair. So these are what we call nimitta. And the behaviors like smiling, and then other kind of beautiful and attractive behavior, smiling, talking, moving limbs and all that. That is called Bhyanjanaga. I think that is not it's not fitting very much as in my understanding. So it's very clear. Na nimittaga, you select nimitta means object. Everything you find some object, a part, something, a nimitta, a part of it. And then Bhyanjanagahi, So Buddha says, now this is all. This is then the beginning. So it becomes clear. Now it becomes clear that if you have this one, that is the beginning in the moral progress, isn't it? The beginning is nanimitta gahina anubhaya. If you can control this one, you can control everything. So that leads to that leads to three acts, good acts. Tini sucharita. And then Tini sucharita leads to 4 bases of mindfulness. The 4 bases of mindfulness lead to 7 factors of enlightenment. The 7 factors of enlightenment lead you to Vidya Vimutti. That is causal or not? Is it causal or not?
Yes, it is causal.
It is causal. It is very much causal. Okay, now with that I have a little bit of time to explain the other discourse. The other discourse is Chetana Karaniya Sutta. The Chetana Karaniya Sutta the Chetana Karaniya Sutta says that I think you need to uh, to uh, uh, to check this sutra. Now give me a second. Sorry, wait a moment. Yeah, so okay, so the Chetana Karaniya Sutra is another explanation, and it is clearly given that if you have a particular stage developed in the moral or in the spiritual path, in the practice, you don't need to make an effort for the other things to come. Huh? So there is no effort in the Chetana Karaniya Sutta. It is very clear that the Buddha says that na Chetanaya Karaniya. Na Chetanaya Karaniya. You don't need to make an effort. Huh? So the person Silavato Sila Sampannas na Chetanaya Karaniya Avipatisari me hotuti. So if somebody is Silavato means that is moral. So some of the limbs, Silavato Sila Sampannas, Nachetana. If you are moral, if somebody is moral, there is no necessity. There is necessity for that person. There is no necessity for that person to strive for or to endeavor for the avipatisari. Avipatisari means the non-vigilance, non-attraction. That means non-attentiveness. Now, we are normally everybody has an attention, right? It is very natural that we are attentive to sensuous object. So attentiveness is something intrinsic. Okay, attentiveness is something intrinsic. So when you have a moral development, that there is not necessary that you want to make an effort. Okay. Wait a moment, I need to check it. Okay, now it's correct. Yeah, now it's correct. I wanted to check the sutra. Now it is said that the person who silavato sila sampannasana chetanaya karane avipatisaromi hotuti. So the non-attentive. So there is no need to make an effort to develop what is called avipatisari. Avipatisari means non-attentiveness. So we are attentive to things, the sensuous object. So we need attention. We are attached to things. So that when you are moral, like how I said earlier, that there should be no additional attempt for the non-attentiveness. So that is, and then the Buddha continues. So dhammata esa bhikkhave. So it is natural that the non-attentiveness arises in the person who is moral, is morally sound. So that is what it means. So it is dhammata esa. And then another one, silavato avipatisaru bhikkhave chetanaya karaniya pamujjang me uppajjatuti. So then again says, if you have non-attentiveness developed within you, okay, if you have non-attentiveness developed in you, there is no need for you to make an effort for the joy to arise. That is pamujjang. Pamujjang means joy to arise. And then the Buddha continues. Now there is no necessity for the person who has this joy to make an effort to produce what we call psychological, what we call delight. It is called piti. So when you have piti, there is no necessity. There is no necessity to make an effort for the bodily and mind calmness. Passambha. So when you have pasadha kayas, sukhinos, there is no when you have calmness, you don't need to make an extra effort for the what we call pamujjam, piti, and the other one is sukha. Sukha means happiness, the bodily happiness. Okay, the bodily happiness. When you have bodily happiness, there is no necessity for you to make an effort for the Sukhino chittang samadhiyati. Sukhino chittang samadhiyati means when your body is with what we call bodily happiness, naturally your mind is concentrated. So there you don't need any extra effort for the samadhi or concentration to arise. So that is very natural. Okay, so when you have samadhi, then your mind is led to panya. So that is how, see how it goes. So if you have silavato sila sampannas, if you are moral, then naturally dhammata esa, naturally non-attentiveness arises. What you call Silavatosi avipatisara, the non-attentiveness arises. When you have non-attentiveness, okay, when you have non-attentiveness, naturally the joy arises within you. When you have joy, the psychological pleasure or happiness, rapture arises you. When you have that, naturally you experiences what we call bodily and mind calmness. And when you have bodily and mind calmness, there should be you don't need to make an extra effort for mental composure or samadhi to arise. So naturally you are reaching there. So the realization is something that naturally comes. So on the proper basis, when you are on the proper basis, rest of the psychological and bodily experience naturally arises as a matter of fact. So that is again another way of explaining the path of salvation, the path of liberation, on the basis in relation to a causal pattern. Okay, now to summarize today's lesson, what I want to tell you is that causality is tathata. It is tathatata. It is evident. It is unavoidable, and it is also idapacheta. Different effects have different causal patterns. Now here, for the arising of suffering, we have a different causal pattern. For the arising of suffering, we have a different causal pattern. And for the, for the development, for the progress of the, what we call liberation path, we have a different causal pattern. And that is another, that is directly related to what we call idapacheta. So origin of suffering is one end result. Liberation is one end result. And two end results are there. For the first one, there is one causal pattern, idapacheta. And then for the second one, there is another causal pattern. It is another idapacheta. That is how we understand it. So I think you need to understand the both sides. Okay, so I told you a few important things in this connection, in the connection of this lesson, that we understood how the causal pattern. Basically, this is not something the Buddha realized alone. Buddha alone realized. So even the previous Buddhas had realized it. So the Nagara Sutta explains that the fact that it was an ancient, it's like it's an ever evident truth. It is an ever evident truth, like hidden. The Buddha discovered it, like somebody discovered hidden edifice in the thick jungle. So Buddha just was a discoverer That is the first thing. Secondly, I told you that because of this what we call causality, number of wrong views, wrong theories are eliminated. For example, theory of causation, self-causation, external causation, determinism, ahetu appachevade, right? And then even the materialism, uchedavada. So a lot of, wrong views are eliminated. And then I told you the causal pattern of origin suffering is very famous, and that is the major dimension of this discussion. And I told you that this should not be taken, the 12-limbed causal pattern should not be taken as something related to the birth of a person, but it is generally related to the perception of the person, how he knows the external, an internal environment, and then finally leading to Nibbana. So it is a part of perception. So Nama Rupa should be understood in that way, not as body and mind. And then I explained you that the necessity and the essentiality of the causal theory. And then the important thing is that different phenomena in results have different causal patterns. Now, in the same way, we describe the origin of suffering in relation to one causal pattern, like how it runs: avidya pacchaya sankhara, sankhara pacchaya vijnana. Because of ignorance, mental constructions or mental configurations arises, and on the basis of mental configurations, consciousness arises. We also have other causal patterns, idapacheta, based on idapacheta. So one good example is the Buddha's explanation of liberation in terms of different types of causal progress of the individual. So this is what I taught you. Okay, so these causal patterns can be described in many different ways. That is also interesting. So if you look at the two sutras, Chetana Karaniya Sutra and the Kundaliya Sutra, the way the causal pattern is different. So it means that actually the Buddhas, in the teaching of the Buddhas, this is Pariyaya Desana. This is Pariyaya Desana, which means sporadic. The discourses were given to different people on different contexts, so depending upon the understanding of the people. So we can see a lot of different explanations. So the path, the causal pattern that brings about the moral causal pattern, or the practice of the causal pattern that brings about liberation in Kundaliya Sutta is a different one. And the same in the Chetana Karaniya Sutta is a different one. So that variety we can see in the Buddhist discourses. Okay, I think that with that we can finish it. If you have any questions, I would like to answer. Yeah. Okay, so if you don't have questions, let's stop the class here. See you next week with a new lesson. See you. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor.
See you, teacher.